The next movie on our list is Bone Tomahawk. I am so excited to talk about this show with you guys.
Alex is so excited. He's sporting his own bone.
She's not wrong. He's like, this movie's so violent.
This movie is so freaking cool. All right.
That side of the table knows.
This table's a little lopsided on this side.
Kate is just like, put it away, man.
Yeah, watch where you point that thing.
Skin that smoke wagon.
At least I have to give this movie a half star.
Because there's boobs, right?
There's some boobs.
Yeah, all right, cool. So, yeah. All right, Jude, what is Bone Tomahawk all about?
2015 Bone Tomahawk. Not rated. With a runtime of 2 hours, 12 minutes. This had a budget of $1.8 million. What do you think this brought in?
It probably made $2 million. I don't even know. I don't remember it coming out in theaters.
I'm not going to lie. I never heard about this movie.
I know.
Until you told us to watch it.
That's what's beautiful about it.
So,
what do you think, V?
5 million.
I want you to aim lower.
Really?
Uh-huh. $1.8 million. Go under.
Oh, 500,000.
$481,000.
Wow.
Yeah, this was one of those things. They put it out in one theater and then sold it to streaming.
This is a hidden gem, guys.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
This is a weird movie.
This is awesome. Go ahead. What's it all about?
You ready?
Yep,
Okay.
take it away.
When David Arquette rolls into town after desecrating the burial ground of some cannibals, the sheriff shoots him in the leg and puts him in the lockup until he can figure out just what kind of trouble he brought to town. By morning, it's too late, and the cannibals have already come and gone and taken with them the deputy and the wife of a one-legged rancher. Sheriff Kurt Russell puts a posse together made up of Matthew Fox, Richard Jenkins, and the hobbled husband for a rescue mission, and off they go. Several challenges arise along the journey, but the search party trudges ahead, on foot, having lost their horses and one of their members, Old Limpy Legs. They track the kidnappers to their cave lair, but soon realize that they're up against an enemy whose brutality they are unprepared for. They come face to face with the barbaric kidnappers and learn the reason their people were taken. Sheriff Hunt watches from his cage as his deputy is butchered and eaten in front of him. It seems that all is lost, and Kurt Russell is the next course, having made his prospect only to perish with the people he came to save. The butcher is back to carve him up, when who should arrive to save the day? Hubby hitching a step. Nothing can keep him from making sweet love to his wife once more, and he's carving up a few cannibals of his own. It's too late for Kurt Russell, but husband and wife reunite and shuffle their way out of Man-Eater Mountain and back home. Discuss.
Man-Eater Mountain. Okay, so I got to give you guys some context for why I picked this movie.
Because you like to torture us.
Please do.
I want to give a big, wonderful shout out to my friend Ruben Marks. He is a EMT and fireman out there in Orange County, California. A good friend of mine. We've been friends for a long, long time, and he introduced this movie to me. He's like, he lived in Vegas not too long ago, and he's like, bro, you got to watch freaking Bone Tomahawk. And I'm like, I've never heard of these. It's got Kurt Russell in it. I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna watch Bone Tomahawk.
You're so easy.
No freaking concept whatsoever for what this movie was. He did not warn me at all. He's like, oh no, it's a good freaking Western. Just go check it out. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm watching this freaking movie, and this still holds the record for the only movie I've ever had to stop watching and prevent myself from vomiting, compose myself, and then continue watching the movie. This movie took me by such shock and awe and surprise. I was like, holy shit.
I bet I can guess that scene that made you throw up.
Yeah. So like, it's always been stuck in my head. And I look at this and I'm like, nobody ever talks about this movie. This movie is like,
only 4 people have seen it and we're here.
Way under the radar for any kind of like Kurt Russell movie. Like, it's got freaking Kurt Russell in it, dude. Like, this should be like a mainstream movie, but it's not. It's a low budget freaking indie film. And it's amazing.
This came out the same year as Hateful Eight.
Yes. And I think that's the reason why is because I think Kurt Russell grew that whole big giant mustache out. And then he was like, well, I might as well do a bunch of Westerns all at once. And he just like
make the most out of this glorious thing.
He just went around Hollywood and found all the Western movies he could do and just did them.
What can I do with this?
Yeah. So shout out to Ruben, because this is one of my favorite Western movies. Just because it's so freaking crazy. It's so brutal and crazy and imaginative and different. Like,
I feel like this could have been a great movie. And then when it's over, you're like, wow, that was super weird. I don't know if I liked it. Not you, obviously, Alex. But like the whole movie, it's like it doesn't know who its main character is. It doesn't know who the lead is.
Yeah.
And it's the husband.
Is it?
It's his story. Yeah, it's his story.
I don't know. By the time the movie was over, I kind of like thought it was the backup deputy.
Right? Like there are a lot of good actors in this, good characters in this.
It's the opinion of the backup deputy that there's something going on weird around here.
Like what's his name? Brooder? Matthew Fox? Brooder?
Yeah.
Like he's a great character in this too, but everyone is like equally good but not great. And so you get to the end of the movie and you're like, okay, well that was weird. But like it's not like it's not a forgettable movie. It's not a bad movie. It's just a weird movie.
I mean let's think about this just for a second. What is the story of this movie?
It's a rescue mission.
Cannibal Indians, cave people come to town, kidnap some people. And they go back and take him to their cave, and Kurt Russell and his little posse have to come rescue him.
Right.
They have, there's like 12 of them. They have two blind pregnant women in the cave.
And they have chopped off all their limbs. So they can't get away.
They have surgically inserted wind whistle pipes in their throats.
Probably bones.
So they can go.
Dude, how creepy is that shit though?
And it needed to be a science fiction movie.
It kind of is, but it's grounded so much in reality that it's not sci-fi. This is just like it's
just a weird movie.
It's very strange, but that's what I like about it. I love that it's so weird. I love that it goes so dark. Like you watch this movie and you're like, okay, it's like an average Western rescue movie. And then like once they get to their location at the Valley of, what is it? The Valley of the Starving Men. I don't know. That's when shit gets weird.
Man-Eater Mountain.
Yeah, Man-Eater. I like that. That's when shit gets weird.
I mean, every character in this thing is kind of weird and off-putting. It's like even characters that have no meaning in this movie, like the mayor and his bitch wife,
played by Sean Young,
that were in the movie for 12 seconds.
Yeah,
it's like, well, why do we care about them?
We don't. They were there for 10 minutes and then they left.
It's just, man, I don't. There's not a lot of movies out there that I'm pissed off at you for making us watch. but
are you mad at me for making you watch
this? Is kind of one of them.
Why?
Well, for one, it's not a good movie.
Oh, bullshit.
It kind of like knocks my opinion of Kurt Russell down a little bit.
What?
That he even would make this piece of shit. But second off, I like Matt said, he got PTSD from watching this fucking thing, and I caught that text in our little group chat before I had watched this, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I getting into? and yeah, I don't need that shit emblazoned in my brain. It was too realistic. Listen, man, this is a little dark. I've watched people die at work. People jumping off buildings and shit. And I don't need to see that. It was just too much. It was too much in my brain.
Okay, we're gonna put
I
want to put a pin in that because I need to get around the table, but we kind of come back to that.
We can watch movies like Wormwood and stuff like that.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Where I know it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
Where I know it's just where it's jelly and food coloring and CGI and shit. And I know this isn't real. But god damn it, it looked fucking real.
It did look fucking real.
It was too much. It
was horrifying.
I literally I saw where they were going and I went whoop, and I said,
put your hands over your face.
For those of you just listening to it, Vader put his hand over his eyes.
Yeah, and it was just I can see why they wouldn't want this to get a wide release because it would fuck people up.
It fucked me up.
Yeah, it fucked you up.
It's probably unrated because it would have gotten an NC-17 for the violence.
Yeah.
And the characters up until that point, the characters in this movie, they're all fine. They all have their roles. We got the goofy under deputy, and
Kurt Russell as the sheriff.
Kurt Russell as the sheriff, you know, and
I love the husband is my favorite character.
Yeah, I mean they all have their roles to play, and there's really nothing wrong with any of them. They're all cool characters, but man, just the weird next level shit they did with this movie. It was
too much for you.
It was too much for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of why I picked it. Jude, what's your thoughts on this movie?
I think I said my piece. Like, I felt like it was really weird. I can't decide if I liked it or not. I don't think I did, but it's not because it's bad. It's just really weird. Like, we start off with David Arquette, and he's like a bandit, basically. He trudges through this burial ground, and he leads these cannibals to this town. I think the town's called, like, Hope or something like that. Bright Hope. And then we get to know the characters of the town. There's like the broken-legged rancher guy, and he's a romantic, and him and his wife are very much in love. And he would went up onto the roof to fix something, and she told him not to, but he fell off and he broke his leg. And then she gets kidnapped, and he's like, "I got to go find my wife," but he's
hobbling,
broken.
Yeah. And we got Principal Strickland as the piano player.
Yeah, and he's basically. Did that blow your mind?
That's fucking Strickland.
That's Strickland, yeah.
Bro!
Don't be a slacker, Alex.
Oh, I love this movie even more now. 5 stars. No. Anyway, continue.
The sheriff, the next morning, he thinks everything's okay.
Yeah.
And people have just been finding bodies. And they're like, hey, some shit went down last night while we were all asleep. We some people are missing. The rancher's wife is missing because she was the town doctor because the real doctor was too drunk to doctor. And so the deputy and she have been kidnapped by who knows what, somebody who came into town and just started slaughtering.
Right.
So they got to go find him. And so they put this posse together. But the crippled guy, he's like, I'm coming with you. And
Hell yeah.
You're going to keep us from making the time that we need in order to save these people. You're going to hold us back. But it turns out he's the one that saves the day.
Yeah, that's what I love about this story. Just leaving the gore and violence and stuff aside, just the story element of this man who loves his wife so much that even though he knows he's probably going to not make it, he's going to die trying. And he ends up having so much freaking drive to save his wife that he ends up being the hero of the story. I love that aspect of it.
You know who the best character in this movie is, though?
Well, I haven't asked you your opinion on this movie, so go ahead, take it away.
Well, the best character in this movie is played by an actor named Zahn McLaren. He plays the professor, and he's the Indian guy they bring in to tell them about these Indians. And he's like,
troglodytes.
They're cannibals, they're troglodytes. And he's like, I'll draw you a map. And they're like, you're not coming with us? He's like, no, because I don't want to die. And that's the last time you see that character. And he was the smartest character in this entire movie.
Yeah, he shows up. He's a pretty famous actor, especially when it comes to Native American characters in movies and stuff. He's in a lot of stuff. So I was very happy to see him. I think when I first watched this movie, I didn't know who he was, but now I recognize him because I've seen him in other things.
Yeah,
Tombstone?
He's been in Westworld. He's been in all types of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but he's the go-to actor if you want a Native American in your movie. You cast this guy.
I meant Yellowstone. Is he in Yellowstone?
I don't know. I haven't seen Yellowstone. I've seen 1883, not Yellowstone.
Okay.
Anyway, so what did you think about the movie, Kadish? Because I know you texted me immediately. You were like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I think when the movie ended, I turned to Jude and I was like, I feel like I just watched an insanely good movie that was also horrible. It's one of those weird things where it's a bad movie, but it's also a really good movie. And so I had very mixed feelings about it. So this was the directorial debut of a gentleman named S. Craig Zahler. And he's actually a very famous Western novelist. He's written award-winning Western novels, the biggest of which is A Congregation of Jackals. And so he's known for doing these Westerns. And his take on this was that this is a horror movie where the monsters are basically Indians. And so the whole movie is kind of half Western, half horror movie. And so it's got that weird dichotomy to it. When it's just the cowboys doing their thing, I was into it. And I was like, oh wow, this is really good. And then once the Indians showed up and they're kind of these monsters, I was really turned off by it. And the biggest issue with this movie is how it presents the violence, right? Because the very first shot in the movie is someone being brutally murdered by David Arquette, I believe.
Yeah.
And the way that violence is presented in this movie, it's just very matter of fact. It's like in these time periods, this was how brutal like life was.
Yeah.
And so in the other movies we talked about, like in Tombstone, the violence is kind of glorified. It's like, you know, slow motion gunfights, stuff like that. In The Hateful Eight, it's Tarantino style violence, which is kind of over the top, you know, like it's almost cartoonish.
Extra blood.
Yeah. Yeah. In this movie, it's just kind of like almost clinical in how it presents the violence. Cause these people, it's kind of funny because all the characters are kind of like, almost like characters from The Office, you know, like they're just kind of going about their daily lives while horrible, brutal violence is happening around them. And so like every time that stuff happened, it took me out of the movie because it was just so like treated so matter of factly, you know? And then by the time they get, you know, into Man-Eater Mountain, is that what it is?
I love that.
Yeah.
Canon.
That works.
Canon.
Yeah. So by the time they get captured and brought to Man-Eater Mountain, the stuff that happens from that point on is so graphic that it's just like hard to watch. And so like for me, like I was waffling in this movie because this is the best movie I've ever seen Matthew Fox in. Like his best performance, hands down.
He's the guy from Lost, right?
Yeah.
Give some context for Matthew Fox. I'm not sure if enough people...
Matthew Fox, Party of Five. He was the doctor in Lost. He's kind of the main character in that show. He was in Speed Racer. He's just not a very good actor, but he nailed it in this movie. Like he was my favorite character. And he's like the guy he's kind of a dandy. He like dresses up like really nicely, but he's also the most experienced in terms of like surviving. Out
He's
west.
like this smartest man.
Oh,
in the
I love
posse.
that bit where he's like, I'm the smartest guy here. And they're all like, oh, how dare you say that? And he's like, I'm the only one who's not married. and they're
then
all
it
like,
turns out he was.
yeah.
Yeah. And so like his character is like all the characters in this movie are very interesting. Like Kurt Russell's character, the backup deputy, Matthew Fox, even what's his name?
Richard Jenkins?
No, the guy with the bad leg.
Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Wilson, thank you.
That's why Jude's good at trivia.
It's basically he is Alex's stand-in in this movie. Like Alex is like, that would be me.
Oh,
if I was in the
100%.
Old
Yeah,
West.
exactly. Yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah. And so
How do you know so much about me?
I sit next to you once a week. But basically, like every character is very well defined in this movie. And then when stuff starts going bad and you see them like start dying off and getting tortured and stuff like that, you're just like traumatized by it. Like when I told you I had PTSD from watching this movie, that wasn't a joke. Like it was one of those things where like there were images in this movie that I couldn't get out of my head and they were haunting. And normally that's like the sign of a well-made movie, like a good movie, because I'm sure that the writer and director of this movie, Zahler, wanted to traumatize his audience, and he succeeded.
He did.
Yep.
And like I said, like this is a very weird movie for me because I think it's a very good movie, but at the same time I hate it. And so like it's hard for me to talk objectively about this one.
Yeah, well, that's the whole reason why I picked it, because I was traumatized by this movie when I first saw it. I've never had to do this before.
We might as well dissect.
Yeah, let's
the
talk about
scene that we're tiptoeing around.
Let's not. I don't want to revisit that scene.
Okay, so the graphicness and the horror. It's one scene in this movie.
Yeah.
We might as well talk about
it's 1.5, because the stuff that happens to Kurt Russell also is pretty graphic when they slice him open and like shove
but
the
that
thing.
wasn't
but
it wasn't as bad. No,
It's not
So-
outside the norm of a movie where horrific things are happening.
I'll run through it as quick as I can. So
I'll literally throw up if you start.
I'm not going to describe it in detail. I'll just let people know who haven't seen the movie. So
Basically, the people that we've been
okay, I guess I
You're
won't.
gonna give
trying
me
to
a
rescue.
flashback right now.
Stop. Don't say that. Like this posse has been trying to rescue these people, and then they get abducted, and then like the next scene is they're all in different cages in this mountain. Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, okay. So Kurt Russell and the backup deputy are in one cage, and their deputy that got kidnapped at the very beginning of the movie is in another cage, and he's talking like, "Oh yeah,
With the wife."
with the wife," and he's like, "Oh, they've had us here for a while, you know."
And there
doing
was
this
3 of them that got kidnapped, but there's only 2 in that cage.
Yeah, and they were like, "What happened to the other guy?" And they're like, "They ate him." And then like again, you have to like kind of put this in perspective for the troglodytes are terrifying.
Terrifying.
They are scary. I don't know who they got to act as these guys, but they are freaking huge,
Yeah.
like superhumans. And this voice box thing that they have like a piece of bone stuck in their throat that causes them to have this like animalistic scream every time they talk to each other, and it's freaking horrifying.
So there's like the one guy, he's the leader. He's like the biggest.
Yeah.
He's the tusk guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like tusks on him.
And on his mouth and jaw and stuff.
Yeah. And like there's like other members in like smaller and bigger, whatever.
Yeah.
But they all have this little like surgical implant in their throat that I think came from like another animal, like a hyena or something, that they've clearly surgically implanted into themselves, and they use it as like a communication thing. Like somebody's following us, and they signal each other with that. Like these people are horror.
Yeah.
And their weapon is a tomahawk made out of bone.
Yeah, it's a jawbone from a donkey or something like
a horse
that.
or something.
A horse.
Yeah.
It's sharpened to be a bone tomahawk, which is what the name of the movie is. So
like,
they're in the cages, and the big bad guy comes out, and they take the deputy from the beginning of the movie, and they take him out of the cage, and they begin just dismantling him.
yeah.
They butcher him.
And that's the scene. They butcher him like he's a pig that you're gonna have bacon out of.
But
Like
the worst part is that he's conscious
alive.
through the whole
Yeah.
thing, and Kurt Russell is talking to him while this is
he's like,
happening.
Nick, listen, I'm gonna get the cavalry here. We're gonna avenge you. And it's
He's
it's
basically lying to him the whole time this
Yeah.
is happening, but just to give him some hope.
Yeah.
Like the cavalry's on his way. Everybody else is going to get rescued. Your death was not for nothing.
And Kurt Russell's like, if that was happening to me, that's what I would want to hear.
Yeah.
Which is why he's doing
But I
that.
would say I'm going to seriously warn our listeners: if you do not have a strong stomach, don't watch that.
It's the most graphic thing I think I've seen. In
The
any
rest
movie.
of the movie is not that.
no,
bad.
it's not. That's the thing.
No.
That I think that's what caught me off guard.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's so weird about this movie is that you have this scene that's so horrific, and this movie is like just trudging along at an even pace, and then you have this one scene that's like a fucking freak wave, and then the rest
And then
of
it
the
backs
movie,
down.
yeah,
And we're all
it's
like-
weird.
We're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. So like,
It's
the
like,
only
Jesus.
reason why I remember this movie is because of the 30 seconds about in like Act 3.
Yeah,
And,
and
you know,
this is the thing that anyone who talks about this movie talks about.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say if they had cut that different, if they just made some,
If they cut away from
if
it
they
at all,
cut away from it and made some thwacking noises or something,
Yeah, it would've been different.
Or just seen him walking off with an arm and just kind of made it more like horror movie
It would
levels.
not have made the same impact.
But
yeah,
but
they
it
literally
would've been,
the camera stayed on scene.
Oh yeah,
the entire time.
It's absolutely horrific.
Yeah, it's one of the most horrific things I've ever seen on film.
Part of me wants to know how they did it.
You can actually just watch this scene on YouTube.
I don't want to.
For anyone who just wants to watch it but not spend 2 hours watching the whole movie, there will be, because I was like trying to watch as much as I could and get as much information as I could while I was doing my synopsis. So I was on YouTube and I was looking up Bone Tomahawk, and it came up with like a warning, like, this is graphic. Are you sure you want to watch
Yeah.
it? So it's
No.
going to give you that screen, and then you have to hit yes or no.
Yeah,
Well, there's actually two parts to this movie. The first part is the Western part.
Yes.
And when we were watching that part, it was actually like a lot of fun because Jude was actually saying like, is this a comedy? Because the way that they talk to one another,
yeah.
it's just like so kind of like simple and matter of fact. And it would be like, oh, just like everyday conversation that people in that time period would actually
Yeah, and
have.
Richard Jenkins is really funny.
The backup deputy is hilarious. Yeah, he has a lot of good jokes in this film.
In my head, there's like a whole universe where he died in this, and then his next iteration is in Cabin in the Woods, where he's like in the underground doing the apocalypse
And then there's the Indian aspect to this when the troglodytes get introduced and like just how brutal that they are.
Yeah.
In addition to the slaughter scene, when they're escaping, we actually get to see these women that they've impregnated, and they have like spikes in their eyes because they gouge out their eyes, and then they cut off their arms and legs so that they couldn't escape. And they're just these like torsos.
they're just torsos
with like pregnant bellies, like lying there, just like barely alive. And that was one of those things that was like so disturbing to me. Like, do you remember when we watched this movie called Easter Bunny Kill Kill?
Oh yeah.
Like I was less traumatized by that movie, which was one of the most traumatic movies that we've ever watched, than I was with this movie.
Seriously?
Disagree with you.
Yeah, I don't agree. That movie just made me feel dirty and like a shitty human being.
I hated myself after I watched that movie.
This movie makes me feel like the director or whoever was just trying to like throw in some weird gross
Shock
shit.
moment.
Yeah. And I didn't need it for this
It
movie.
doesn't surprise me that this was his first directorial debut. And I just feel like this could have been great if things were like, I don't know, like just a bit
So
different.
you think it went too far to the point where it's
No.
taking away from the movie?
No, not
Oh,
at
okay.
all. I feel like that scene was very important in this movie, and everything else should have been built around that. If you knew that's where you were leading, I feel like the rest of the movie should have made sense leading up to it, because what we got was something that was like a couple of different movies, and you're not sure what this movie is until you get to that scene, and then you walk away and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Also, the scene where Kurt Russell is getting killed.
Yeah.
Basically, like
Very gruesome.
oh, it was so graphic, and you know he goes out like a boss. Don't get me wrong, but the movie also just kind of ends, and it ends like right after you see all this horrible stuff, and so you're just left with this feeling where like there's no hopeful resolution. There's no like cut to like 6 months later where like the guy's leg is working again, and him and his wife have like a kid named after the sheriff or something like that. You know, like there's nothing to make you feel good.
Right.
Oh, I
at the end of this
disagree.
movie.
I think the scene where he rescues his wife and the backup deputy is helping them get home, that for me was like, I mean, yeah, that the trudge to get there was real tough, but they survived and they made it.
Okay, but
Did they?
I'm going to say something that I don't know if it occurred to you.
Okay.
So we've seen what the pregnant husks looked like.
Right.
When we get back to like the mountain and they're in their cages and they realize like their people are in the cage across from them, and Sheriff Kurt Russell says like to the wife, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "I'm alive."
Mm-hmm.
What happened to her? Because I don't think they were going to eat her. I think they were going to see
Impregnate
if
her.
she got pregnant
Yeah.
and then cut her shit off. So what she had coming was probably worse than just getting eaten. She was going to end up like those ones. And
Well, she was purposely starving herself.
Yeah.
Because there was a moment where like you have to eat something, and she's like, "Why? They want us to be fat. I'm not going to eat anything."
Yep.
yeah.
Like that was the whole point. Yeah. So yeah, no, there's some dark, like subtones to the not subtones, but what do you
Subtext.
subtext? Thank you. That's why he's the writer. There's some dark subtext with what happened to her while she was there, because
Yeah.
it was days,
She
days and
probably
days and
did
days.
not just get thrown into a cage for those days.
Yeah, but they never outright say it, so it's speculation.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a dark movie.
It's a very dark movie.
Very
I
dark
did not
movie.
enjoy it. Thank you for making me watch it, you dick. So
I'm never going to watch this again.
no, never.
This is my second time.
Yeah, I don't recommend anyone watch this.
This is my second time watching it. So the first time I watched it, it freaking blew my mind, and I was like, "Holy God, I can't believe!" And I was like, "Has anybody else ever seen this movie?" And nobody ever talks about it.
4 people.
Yeah. So final thoughts. Give it a rating.
I don't really have any. Don't watch it. It's not good.
Oh my God,
It's
really?
it's just I don't know. I don't even know how to grade it. If you take the silly gross part stuff out, I'd probably give it a 2.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think it was all that great. You know, I thought the characters were kind of silly. I thought the dialogue was dumb. You know, the backup deputy the backup deputy sheriff, whatever stuff was kind of silly. Yeah, it's just one of those movies that if I would have turned off after 20 minutes if I didn't have
Never
to
would
watch
have
it
even gotten
for
to
this.
that big
No,
moment.
no.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it
2 stars, huh?
1.5.
What? Oh.
Yeah,
All right. All right.
Okay.
yeah, half star for boobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jude, final thoughts. Give it a rating.
So it is the opinion of the backup deputy that the suspicious man was suspicious.
Okay.
I thought the dialogue was fun.
Yeah.
I thought the movie was weird. I don't begrudge that scene and the horrificness of it, because it was interesting and it made me feel something. But I don't recommend the movie. It's a weird fucking movie, and I don't think the movie knows what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to watch it again. I don't know that I'm regretful that I watched it. It's just weird. I don't know what to think of it. I would prefer to put it out of my head, I guess. 2 stars. 2 troglodytes out of 5.
All right. Okay. Kadish, final thoughts. Give it a rating.
This is a well-made, competent movie. It's got great acting in it, good dialogue. It's very disturbing. I can't say that this is a bad movie because it's not. It's a unique movie. It's not like anything I've ever seen before. And I can't give it 2 stars because it's not a 2-star movie. I got to give it a 3 stars. But that being said, I do not recommend it. I don't think anyone should really watch this. I mean, like, there are certain people out there who will, like, go gaga over it. But at the same time, like watch up to the point where Matthew Fox dies and then turn it off and it'll be like a good movie. But up to that point, like after that happens, it just gets so dark and goes so off the rails that I can't recommend it. So, but it is a good movie. It's a 3-star film in my opinion.
Okay. I think it's a really good movie. All the characters are very well defined. I love Kurt Russell. I love the husband who goes on this mission. Like Kate just rightly pointed out, I put myself in his shoes and I'm like, if that ever happened to me, I'd hope I do what he did and just be like, I'm going, nobody's going to stop me come hell or high water. So I was on board for his storyline and following that.
Sip that opium.
Hell yeah. And just massacre some freaking troglodytes. I've seen a lot of really fucked up movies. Like I've watched like Human Centipede and weird shit like that. I don't like those movies.
I cannot believe you have watched Human Centipede.
I have.
It's wild.
I have. I don't like overly gory, graphic
That's
movies.
why I'm in shock.
I don't even like the Saw series. Like I'm not into that torture porn stuff.
Yeah.
This movie is 90% Western
Mm-hmm.
and 10% holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like it for that. I like that it has that really unbalanced feel.
So you like just a sprinkle of torture porn,
Because it fit to
not like
me.
a full main course.
Yeah, no, I don't want 2 hours of that. Like if it was 2 hours of Man-Eater Mountain, if it was 2 hours of Man-Eater Mountain, I wouldn't watch it. But because it's
I feel like I would understand it more if it was 2 hours of Man-Eater Mountain. I know what I was getting.
Yeah, it'd be like a Rob Zombie film.
I
walked away from this
that
just confused.
I like that it just punches you in the face and then ends. And it's like, think what you want. Like I found that very interesting and very fascinating.
I think that assessment is very interesting because I don't want someone to just punch me in the face and then walk away. I want you
want to brawl.
punch me in the face and then stand there and take it.
No, I found this movie to be very unique, and I'm glad that I've seen it. And if you are like me and you're like you got that weird side to you and
There's
you like
nobody like you,
there's
boo-boo.
like some weird shit in your movies every once in a while, I do recommend you go watch it because it's a good movie. Just prepare yourself. I was not prepared the first time I watched it, and I had to turn it off and walk away for like 20 minutes and like compose myself.
You are
and go,
a little
damn, holy shit. Stop watching, walk away. Okay, now I need to finish this movie and come back and watch it. 100%, I understand where you guys are coming from. It's messed up. The PTSD, I apologize. It's jacked up,
well,
dude.
I got you this week. You got me.
It's just like, whoa.
It's like, what kind of fucked up movie can I make us watch?
Yeah.
We watch them so you don't have to.
That's right.
Well, when you guys were like, let's do a Kurt Russell movie, I immediately thought of this movie because I'm like, this is a Kurt Russell movie and it's a Western.
Yeah, no,
and it's one of the most unique, jacked up movies I've ever seen.
Do you know that all week long, Kadish has been cussing you out under his breath?
Yeah, you
being
should have
like,
heard. You should have heard him at coffee on Monday.
Alex getting to pick things. Just fucking. He's got so much self-control.
I don't know how many stars to give this movie. It's low budget. It's not a 2-star movie. You're crazy. No, it's probably 3.5 for me.
You fine.
It's
Whatever.
a good movie.
Whatever.
It's a well-made movie. It does punch you in the face. So, I mean, take a half star off for that, I guess. I don't know.
And if you like getting punched in the face, you
Feel
might
free
like
to watch this movie.
Watch Bone Tomahawk.
Don't anybody look at the screen right now, by the way. No, this is just an example of those why your brain is so fucking weird. Because, like, you hate heartwarming things. You don't understand comedy. But like this weird ass shit. You're like, it was very interesting, and I really dug it, and it really meant something to me. And I
Fuck
kind of
Monster
love it.
Squad. Let's watch Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, it's a three and
His
a
name
half, 3.5
is Horace.
stars.
Get
This
that.
is high cinema, and it's just like, I want to go in through my eyeball and pull out my brain.
They probably did that.
If that can give you,
I'm weird, Jude.
I know,
That's why I don't have many friends.
I know.
All right. That's it for today's podcast. What did you guys think? If you have seen this movie, let me know. I'm curious to see how many people have
Alex
seen
would
this.
like more friends that are like-minded.
Comment below your thoughts on Bone Tomahawk.
I think of you less now. So
You mean you think less of him now?
yes,
I would like to think of you less. I think.
You know what? I will say one thing about this movie. None of you will ever forget it.
That's
I'm
not a
gonna
good
try.
thing.
I'm gonna try very hard.
Yeah.
She's
Not
like,
enough alcohol in the world.
I'm going to find the bottom of this bottle.
Yeah.
Freaking giant Jameson bottle.
I'm pretty sure if I
Look at the size of this thing.
I'm gonna drink that head-sized bottle of Jameson.
stay drunk, I'll never think about this movie again.
Okay.
I don't know what that says about me having a life outside of this podcast.
I'm very glad I was able to bring it to our audience. All right, Matthew Vader,
74.
74.
That's where you can find me
Where can they find you?
at
At AOL.com.
MySpace. Yeah.
Take it away. Bud. Where can they find you?
You can find me at Matt Vader 74 on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. on this very channel,
Making buttons.
making buttons,
Playing that button game.
Okay.
playing Dragon Champions.
Jude.
It's probably playing Dragon Champions. Let's
Accurate.
be real.
All right, Jude, where can they find you at?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram and on TikTok. And we're going to start doing a monthly trivia based on our 4 Patreon episodes that we're doing. So jump on the Patreon at saltynerdclub.com. Get in there, watch the episodes, join us for trivia.
Right on. Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter. KadishBooks.com takes you to our Amazon page. And don't forget to go to saltynerd.com/rate and leave us a 5-star review or 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We're trying to get 200 of those so that we can be accredited movie reviewers with Rotten Tomatoes. And tune in next week where we talk about buddy cop movies. I'm looking forward to that week. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it'll be a little bit easier than this week. All right, everybody. If you guys want to catch me, go to our Discord app, saltynerdiscord.com. We have a ton of fun. We have a fantastic community. I love hanging out in our Discord app and chatting with all of our fans of the podcast and fellow content creators and stuff like that. So shout out to those guys. Thank you guys for being in there. And that's it. I think we're done for the day.
I think we're done.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Tune in next week for Buddy Cop Week. And as always, stay salty, my friends.